So I just started pumping down the vacuum chamber on this FEI XL835 dual beam system, and after pumping overnight, you can see that the chamber pressure is showing less than 1 e to the -7, which is completely obviously wrong, and it's been that way since I started pumping. And I suspect that there's something wrong with the cold cathode gauge. I measured the output of the power supply for the cold cathode gauge, and it was giving me a negative, basically 2,000 volts, so that seems okay. So what I'm going to do is vent the chamber, and we'll pull off the gauge and pull it apart and see what it looks like inside. Maybe it just needs to be replaced. In case you didn't already know it, this is the cold cathode gauge. It's mounted right off the side of the turbo pump, and this is what measures the chamber vacuum, and this is the little gauge that we are suspicious might be causing trouble. So I'm just going to disconnect the high voltage lead here, and I'm going to disconnect the quick flange, and then we'll take a closer look at what's going on. Okay, so I pulled out the little cold cathode gauge. This is a Leybold model, and it has it's on a KF25, and there's a little baffle in here, and there's an electrode inside that we want to pull out and check out. So we're going to use this little circle clip pliers, and we'll pull out this clip which retains the baffle. Pull that out, and now we can dump out the little baffle. Oh, look at all the crud that comes out with it. Yuck. I think that's a clue that we got a problem here. Oh yeah, it's just full of crud. Okay, here's the little baffle. And you can see in there it's very dark. Let's use this little hemostat, and now I got to reach in there and twist the electrode out. One more twisting, I'll have it. It's screwed in. There we go. Okay, now look at that. That's a little electrode, and it's kind of skinny in the middle. That indicates that the little anode or cathode is worn out. Let's zoom in and get a closer look at that. This little guy, normally it's a constant thickness. You can see it's worn out in the middle, eroded away, and you can see that this thing is full of big carbon flakes, which is an indication this thing is severely worn. So I think I'm going to have to probably replace the parts, but in the meantime I might be able to just put it together, blow everything off and put it back together. So I pulled off the magnet to make things a little easier, and I blew up the inside. All this dust and junk came out. I cleaned up the the little cathode here, and got all the flakes of carbon off of it, cleaned up this little glass insulator, and now I'm ready to rebuild it. I'm just going to put the little glass insulator on the inside here, and then I'm going to install the little cathode by holding it by the little socket head cap screw with my needle nose pliers, dropping it in, and then twisting. If you get a Leybold rebuild kit that comes with a neat little tool that makes this a little easier. Yeah, I don't have normally I would have rebuilt this with a rebuild kit, but I didn't have a rebuild kit available, so I'm just going to clean it up and reuse what I have. I think I'll get plenty of life still from it as it is. Okay, so it's screwed in now. Now I can reinstall the little baffle. Put my little circle clip, oops, it's rolling away. Okay, we got the baffle clipped in. Now I can put the magnet back on. Okay, it's ready for installation. You can see now that we've been pumping for a couple hours and that the chamber pressure is giving us a reasonable reading now. I reattached the gauge and pumped down the system, and it looks like it's working. So that's great. What we learned from this is that you don't necessarily have to fully rebuild the gauge or replace it. You can just tear it apart, clean it up, put it back together, and get it to work again. So there you go. There's the repair of a Leybold cold cathode gauge. If you're looking for a rebuild kit, do a search for Inficon 850, I believe it is. 850 cold cathode gauge. Bye.